What's up? Uh, so I'm watching the Phillies game right now. It's the bottom of the fifth. Phillies are up 5-0. So I'm not going to get too excited yet. They can never seem to finish the game off, so to speak, a lot this season, and for some reason the Marlins always give them a hard time. So whatever. But anyway, I'm looking forward to this game Sunday, 1 o'clock, Eagles at Tampa. Darren Sproles is out, hamstring. Alshon Jeffrey, no surprise that he's out. Still, Carson Wentz, he's out still. No surprise there either. Hopefully this is the last week that they're going to be out. Hopefully they're back for the Colts game in Week 3. We'll see. Which would be nice. I mean, that's a reunion. Our former coordinator, Frank Reich, is now the head coach of the Colts. So it'd be nice if they were back for that. But anyway, this game coming up, Deshaun Jackson, he's questionable. So I'm kind of I want him to play. I do, because I don't want any excuses. Because if he don't play, we win. Well, that gives somebody an excuse as to why we won and they didn't. But anyway, he's been in the league a long time now. Deshaun Jackson, it's hard to believe he's been in the league for, 10, 11 years, something like that. But since he's not been with the Eagles, all of the years he was with Washington, not really Tampa, because he hasn't really played us with Tampa. But with Washington, though, he's had some big games against us, man. He's made big plays. So he is, in my opinion, he is the biggest threat on offense for Tampa. So if he plays, I'm sure Doug Peterson, Jim Schwartz, they're game planning as if he will play. But right now he's questionable, so we'll see. But the game, leading up to the game, man, I didn't realize that it's one of those things that you think about, or you don't think about, but you see it, you recognize it, but it don't register. This is the battle of the backups, man. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Nick Foles. So it got me thinking. I mean, and I'm sure everybody's heard the whole thing with Nick Foles by now. Last offseason, it came down to the Eagles and Buccaneers when he was a free agent and going to come back and play. What it came down to for him, if you don't know, what it came down to for Nick Foles and his decision to come back to the Eagles was the fact that he was already familiar with Philadelphia. He was familiar with the city, the organization, and the fans. I mean, he was familiar with everything. And with Tampa, he didn't have no familiarity with anything down there. And him just having a little girl, it was a big decision. And the fact that him and his wife, they love Philly, so that's. But, you know, I can definitely understand that being a major factor, familiarity. I mean, just from a playing standpoint, you know, you don't really. You might know who's on the roster, but you don't really know what you're getting yourself into until you get into that first team practice and you get around that practice environment with your new teammates, your new coaching staff. You don't really know what you're getting yourself into until then, really. You know, everything else up until then, I guess, is just hearsay. Kind of going off what you hear from other players around the league, I guess. But anyway, so with that in mind, like, it came to me like a hypothetical that's completely not important, irrelevant now, but it just made me think more about it out of curiosity. that what if he went into free agency last year? Well, in his mind, he was retired at the time. Nick Foles, he was retired at the time. But he was also a free agent. And so, what if at that time, like, Nick Foles was drafted by somebody else. He didn't have that first run with the Eagles. So, both teams would have been completely new to him. Both cities would have been completely new to Nick Foles and his family. So, the thing that got me wondering with that is, what if he would have signed with Tampa instead of the Eagles in that scenario? Would the Eagles have made the run that they did last postseason? Would the Eagles have won the Super Bowl without Nick Foles? It's not nothing I'm going to lose sleep over, by no means, because we know the outcome of everything now. But it was just something I was curious about. So anyway, speaking of Nick Foles, back in, I believe, June, his book came out, and I was there when it came out. I bought it. I had to get it, man. And I was at the book signing. When he was doing his little book tour, and the MVP himself signed my book. So, yeah. But I have not finished reading this book. But if you haven't read it, or if you don't have it, and if you haven't read it, I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. It gives you great insight. From what I've read so far, it gives you great insight. His whole rookie season, his college years, football years, leading up to when he was drafted, his first couple of seasons with the Eagles with Andy Reid and then Chip Kelly. And then he gives you pretty good insight too with his year with St. Louis. Pretty much when he lost his love of the game, and that whole, I guess I don't want to use the word spiral down, but in football terms, or as far as football goes, it was a downward spiral for him, and it just talks about that whole process and how he came back to loving the game and back to the Eagles, and so and it goes all the way through the Super Bowl. So I'm about halfway through the book. I've really been slacking, but man, yeah, definitely check it out. Believe it, man. This is a great book. Great book. So yeah, highly recommend it. But man, week 2, man, I think we can do it. We can win it. We should win it, but it's not going to be easy. We can win it. I wish I can go a little bit more in-depth football talk, but this video is already long enough, unexpectedly. But, yeah, man. So, anyway, let's make it 2-0. Shout out to E-Rock and everybody, 4th and John, Gail, Saunders. Y'all going to be down in Tampa. So I'm expecting some good footage and everything from them guys. And wow, his second of the game, Aaron Altair. 8-0. So anyway, go Birds. 2-0. Hopefully, we'll see. Go Birds.